Hi from the Mad Scientist. This is another easy make small tool for your Dremel or Fordham style tools. I call it a fly cutter. Make it from banding from a lumber yard or any place else you can find the banding. Mark a piece that's pretty much square. I just used a pair of tin snips to cut it off. And then I grind the edge on a grinder just to make it nice and square. I sand or file off the burrs so that there's nothing sticking out on the edges. Mark the center punch it onto the drill press where I drill a hole appropriate for the mandrel. I use a Pete Blair sanding mandrel to do it. And here's an example of my mandrel. I'm assembling it now. It has two washers. I take those off. I use a little lock washer under the head of the screw just as a precautionary matter, but I don't think it matters because as the Dremel turns it tightens the screw anyway, so I don't think there's any chance of it coming off. But should the tool spin backwards, it might unwind and undo the screw, so I use this just for sort of extra security. Screw it on tight. When you insert it into your Dremel, don't put the shaft all the way in. Leave it out a little tiny bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, so you can actually use that if you need. If it grabs a hold of it and you can't get the bit out or the mandrel out, you can push it in first and then it'll come out pretty easily. Tighten it up, and I will show you what it cuts like on some cottonwood bark. It melts through cottonwood bark. I guess most tools do, and this one's no exception. I've had comments, people thinking it's dangerous, which of course every power tool is, and you shouldn't use it if you don't feel that it's safe or if you think it might harm you or someone else. With a steady hand and a light touch, it's very controllable. It doesn't seem to have any catches or anything when I've been using it anyway. As you can see, it cuts nice fine lines. Of course, cottonwood bark doesn't have a grain, so it'll cut across or with the grain, or whoop, I just cut a little piece flew out there. You can see the dust coming off it. It cuts very easily, very rapidly. I'm a little shaky, so my lines aren't maybe as nice as they could be. You can use it sort of to chamfer off a corner or to notch an end or anything like that. It's just really a saw blade with 4 cutters instead of however many most saw blades have. It doesn't bind up, it doesn't get full of junk like a saw blade might. And to sharpen it, you just have to file straight across the 4 sides, and now you've got 4 brand new sharp cutters. And away you go. I think I'm going to do a piece of cedar for you too. I'll show you what it cuts like on a piece of cedar. Here it is. I'm just going to use it to cut off like a little piece. If you want to use it like a saw, there's the piece off. Then you can see I'll just do some fine cuts. And of course the cuts are only the width of the banding material, so it makes a nice fine cut. It can be very shallow, or you can cut it deeper. Cuts really deep on corners if there's any reason to do that. Here I'm sawing another little piece off. And if you need to notch something, if you're making a little tenon in something, works slick for that. Cuts into the edge down into the washer. Wouldn't want to go any deeper than that. Just showing you some more kind of cuts almost across the grain, sort of sideways across the grain. And shallow cuts, but it will cut deep if you want it to. And if you angle it slightly, it will cut. You could do it twice and it'll cut a V cut or whatever you want. So it's just an inexpensive, simple little extra tool that you might find comes in handy in your toolbox.